Hi witches! So today we're going to touch again on crystals and crystal magic. I have done a few videos about crystals for specific types of magic, but I don't know that I've actually gone into crystal magic overall. So today we're going to do that. Crystals, they're not just like beautiful shiny things that I love to hoard, but they're actually like very powerful pieces of the planet that we can use in our craft. Crystals are formed in the earth, right, by various chemical processes, mostly by heat, pressure, and they are then forced to the earth's surface and we're able to mine for them, right? So they start deep in the earth where the magma and like the mantle like connects with there's a lot of science behind it, and I went to art school. I'm sure my mother, if she knew I was talking about this, would be like freaking out. But again, she's a geologist, so I learned a lot about rocks growing up, remember very little of it. The energy it took to form these crystals is what we as witches can tap into to use during our magical workings, and each crystal kind of has its own unique personality, just kind of based on the way it was formed and like what went into it, if that makes any sense. So geology is a really cool topic. Again, my mom is a geologist, like she is a rock nerd. I can't take her hiking because she'll be like, oh, this is like an 8 million year old rock and blah blah blah. I used to hate it a lot as a kid. Actually, now I probably would be like, tell me more, tell me everything. But it's a really cool topic overall. If you can read some scientific texts about this, I definitely recommend reading like actual scientific scientific articles about this topic, because it is really fascinating. Going into a metaphysical store for the first time is really intimidating, at least for me, but I have anxiety, so ever going into anything for the first time is really intimidating. But at my local shop, it took me 3 visits to actually even go over to their crystal section because it was just so overwhelming. There were so many to choose from. There are tons of different crystal shapes as well as crystals. Like there's different shapes that lend themselves to different types of magic. So my personal favorite are tumbled stones that are like relatively natural or like irregular in shape. I find myself drawn to them. They're shiny and they're smooth and I like them, and I like the uniqueness of each one of them. I think that really lends itself to the personality of the stone. I'm going to say that a lot probably in this episode. I don't know how to explain that other than like the energy of it. I think it just reminds me the most of like rocks that you see outside, and that connects me to the energy of the earth the most versus other shapes. But other shapes are really great for other working. The other type that I really am drawn to are like crystal spheres. So like when you think of like a crystal gazing ball, or if you're a Lord of the Rings nerd like I am, the Palantir. I want one. A Lord of the Rings nerd like I am, the Palantir. I want one. Okay. So, I definitely really like that shape as well, and I think that's going to be like my next big crystal purchase. I really want to get like a nice, like, sizable chunk of a quartz crystal or something. Pyramids are great for focusing energy or intention into the universe. So if you think about the shape, like the triangle, this is obviously not a pyramid, but like a triangle, it kind of at that point at the top like goes straight up into the universe. So it can be like a receiver of energy or a transmitter of energy, if that makes any sense. Towers, so if you see like the really big, like, and these are more of the natural looking stones in my opinion, like just like the really big pillars of stone. I generally see quartz, like that's like the most common one. One of my local crystal stores also has amethyst, so that's awesome. And they're really pretty, but those are great for amplifying your intent and your energy, as well as amplifying the energy of your other crystals. It's really cool. And it can help like charging them, especially if you have quartz around. Just having a big piece of quartz is really great to have in your house in general. So that's like another thing on my list of things that I want. The next shape I wanted to talk about is the crystal wand, which is just a long, thin piece of a crystal. This is really great for healing or directing energy. If you go to a Reiki healer, they might have like a crystal wand that they use over your body. I'm really hoping to experience Reiki healing sometime this year. I actually like really want to like get a full body massage anyways because my back is a mess, but like to have a massage and then a Reiki session would be like really awesome. So I'm really trying to do that soon. And when I do, I will let you know how it went. Yeah, healing wands, crystal wands, you'll see them around. They're really cool. If you're like a a witch who really works with crystals, or is like really drawn to working with crystals, and you want a wand, maybe consider getting a crystal one. And then finally we have crystal points, which is generally stuff that you see on like necklaces and jewelry and stuff. They're like little shards of crystal, basically. They're not as polished all the time, especially if you're just looking for like crystal points at a metaphysical store. If it is on a piece of jewelry, it's probably polished, but it'll be just like a little point, and that is really, really good for putting into crystal grids, which I'm just about to talk about, and directing energy in certain directions on your altar. So I see quartz being used the most for like quartz points are very, very common to find in metaphysical stores, and it's a great addition to your crystal collection. So yeah. So crystal grids, what are they? One way to work with crystals is to set up a crystal grid. A crystal grid is made when you arrange crystals in a symmetrical pattern around a central point. So generally speaking, you place one stone in the middle and you start building out from there. I would like people to know that 3 crystals can make a grid, so I often make a like 3-point crystal grid around my moon water. So a lot of witches do this using multiple of the same stone. You don't have to, I generally don't. But if you do like a specific stone, like an amethyst or a quartz, you can use like tons of that. If you have a lot of it, you can use that in your grid. It's also an excuse to buy more crystals, but that's not coming from me. So now we're going to talk about how to choose crystals. Now there are dozens and dozens that you can choose from. My biggest suggestion, if you're like me and get overwhelmed really easily, is to do your research beforehand and kind of see like how each crystal feels to you when you're actually in the store, because you could have like a little list. Like when I am looking for a specific type of stone, I usually go in there with an intention and a list of like 4 or 5 different crystals that like match that intention. So for example, for protection, it could be like smoky quartz, obsidian, shungite, onyx, and rutilated quartz, whatever. And that's just because I do a lot of protective magic. If you've been a witch for 10 years, I'm sure you'll be able to rattle it off too. But learning like what stones can bring to your craft is really great, but I don't think you should necessarily be like, I need this stone in order to do things. Like I need adventuring in order to do a prosperity working. Like that's not necessarily true. As a rule of thumb for me, I just kind of go back to color magic if I'm unsure. So if that's really not your bag, if you're kind of more of the person who wants to go and like intuitively feel for what kind of crystal you want to get, which is also another method. I don't personally like that. I'm a Virgo, I have to be planned. So as a rule of thumb though, for me, I like to go back to color magic. When we think about that in terms of crystals, look for blue crystals for healing, look for red or orange crystals for passion and creativity, black for protection, green for abundance, yellow for happiness, etc. Also, a lot of the time at metaphysical stores, like there will be a description of what each stone's energy can bring into your craft. So like they'll say, you know, like healing, cleansing, etc. And they usually have like little cards that you can even take home and put into your book of shadows, which is something that I do all the time. So just a little tip, but yeah, going out to crystal stores is really cool. If you are interested, I do have a tier on my Patreon that does have to do with like sending mystery crystals out, so it is linked down below. If you have any questions about that, let me know, and I'll be happy to talk to you about it. Anyways, finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about in terms of crystals is using crystals to protect you. It's one of my favorite things to do, especially in the form of crystal jewelry, which is something that I'm wearing right now, ironically, because I forgot that I wrote this down before I started filming. This is a great way for witches who may not be able to openly practice to have a little bit of magic with them at all times. And it'll be on the slide because everyone has crystal jewelry these days. Like it's very trendy, right? So my favorite stones for protection are obsidian and smoky quartz. You may be able to find something at your local crystal shop or even on Etsy, but again, I always recommend shopping local and shopping small if you can. Some of the crystals that you find at big like retailers aren't actually really crystals, like they're just dyed glass. Be careful where you shop. Some witches really like to have like amethyst or clear quartz around when they meditate. Others add moss or tree agate to their plants to help them grow. So using crystals in your craft is like really, really transformative, and the possibilities are really endless. I hope this video gave you guys a great intro or refresher into crystal magic, and I will be answering any questions below. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and yeah, bye.